Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between the High Elves and the Demons of Chaos here on the edge of the Darkwood. It's going to be myself with Tyrion facing off against Subutai, who's going to be using the Chicken of Tzeentch. Very, very good character. Actually does have a snare, as well as the whole kit of Tzeentch spells. But Tyrion did get some nice buffs in 5.1. He does have magic damage now and fire damage. I don't believe he had that before. Really makes him a lot better against demons. And with the prevalence of Karanak is super powerful, especially on the Demons of Chaos. He's able to hunt down enemy casters. He can summon some corn dogs. So having Tyrion, a character that can really bully him in combat, I think is quite good. So this build was heavily experimental here. We're coming in with the dreaded triple Tyrion Chariot. The idea being is that Chariots got buffed in 5.1, so hopefully they would be a little bit more effective. And on top of that, they have magic damage arrows, which actually have respectable damage output against light armor. So just, hey, let's just charge into the lightly armored demons and also have a little bit of poke with our Tyrion Chariots. Also, we're going to be rocking a Handmaiden of the Ever Queen, super cool character, magic damage, fire damage, and shooting, which is good against Nurgle demons and a multitude of other targets on the demonic roster. Enchanted Spyglass, she's going to be running with the Tyrion Chariot, so she's going to be giving missile damage, reload skill, and also more reload skill. So in total, they're going to be getting plus 15 to their reload skill, and she's a good anti-large fighter too. So yeah, don't really try these units often, but let's see how it goes. You have a Melkoth's caster. Melkoth's is incredibly strong against demonic troopers. Granted, Subutai did come in with a very SE-focused build, so my magic probably going to be one of the weaker points in my build. 4 spearmen, and that is it. Now, for my opponent's build on the other side, it is going to be Nurglings and Nurglings up in the vanguard. And in the backfield here, it is going to be Bloodletters of Khorne, as well as a Blood Reaper. So Blood Reapers have seen some play against High Elves and against Cathay and against Dwarves. They are very solid AP, anti-infantry fighters with 60 melee attack. Granted, they are a little bit squishy, can be bullied pretty badly by characters like Tyrion, but if I did bring Silver and Guards, which have been pretty popular due to their durability and their staying power against demons, the Blood Reaper would be very good against that. Now, the Chicken Lord, Zervik the Feathered Prince, he's just going to be doing Blue Fire as well as Gaze of Fate. Gaze of Fate's going to be really good at locking down my chariots. And we do have the Noxbringer, because Archer Spam has always been the meta against demons, but my build is very different here with the Tyrion. So this guy's a great counter against archers, hence why Subutai brought them, and Karanak as well. So Karanak is, like I said, a raid boss. He can definitely fight against Tyrion, but Tyrion will win at the end of the day. His stat line's just way better, and although their HP is very close, Tyrion should win that one. So over here on the side, we do see a nice blue fire coming down from Subutai, but I figured, hey, let's kind of contest the objectives a little bit, use our chariots and our mobility, and just kind of Space Jam slam in there and see if we can find a unit that is maybe sleeper goods. Tyrion chariots have been memed for a long time. People just say they're terrible, but maybe now is their time. So they get in there, they run over those Nurglings and do actually quite a bit of impact damage. You can see the Nurglings are pretty close to crumbling on impact. The Handmaiden of the Ever Queen also buffs melee attack of nearby units. So we do get in there and pound those Nurglings to dust, and we are going to be stealing the back objective. And Subutai does respond with some Fiends of Slaanesh. A very good call-in. Fiends are very quick, 95 speed against the Tyrion 84. So he is going to be able to probably snare me in place with this big chicken, and it looks like that is going to be his intent here. In the meantime, on the other side, we do see Tyrion just absolutely giving the dirty to Karanak. He's pretty much the same speed. He is able to stay on top of the fell beast of Khorne and trade very well. And Karanak does try and run away, but it's not going super well. So Tyrion trying to put this game on his back. Meanwhile, on the other side, there's a very nice snare from my opponent. One Tyrion Chariot is going to be locked down and killed by the Fiends of Slaanesh. So that felt bad, but at the end of the day, I felt like I was coming out ahead on the trading here. Old Tyrion able to really bully this Hound of Khorne, which is great, and that's the reason I brought him, is because most Demons of Chaos players are pretty much auto-taking Karanak these days. And over here in the front line fighting, we do have the Bloodletters and Nurglings moving in, and I do use my Melkoths to soften them up a little bit. And now that, a lot of the forces of my opponent are occupied over on Objective 3, I am going to be pulling my chariots over to the middle and getting some nice juicy charges into these little Nurgle bandits here, as well as these Khornate warriors. So Spearmen are going to be engaging Bloodletters, obviously a bad fight. Sunfang's going to be going down from Tyrion. A partial hit, I kind of misaimed it a little bit, but it still will be cooking some of those demons up. And the Tyrion chariots have gotten in. And honestly, I'm very happy with their DPS. You can see they melt these Nurglings super quickly and have done a very excellent job of getting these Bloodletters down. So maybe we found a bit of a sleeper unit here, something the High Elves could experiment with in a couple of those Chaos matchups. Reavers on the other side engaging versus the Fleshhounds. These were summons, so this was summoned by Karanak as he's cackling in the back waiting. No Nurgle healing on this build for the Demons of Chaos, so I didn't have to worry about him getting healed, which felt great. I do also pile in with my Handmaiden of the Ever Queen, knowing that she is a respectable fighter and also gives a melee attack buff that she could help anchor this position. But we're ready to fight, and the Blood Reaper is going to be going at it with Tyrion. Tyrion is going to be debuffed by some of these Fiends of Slaanesh, which is unfortunate, but he has such an insane stat line, it doesn't really matter too much. So Tyrion going to be fighting it out. Meanwhile, blue fire coming down to the side. I do pull back my Reavers and send in some spears to occupy those Fleshhounds. Back objective being defended by 1 spearman unit, and the Tyrion chariots are going to be retreating back with the Furies actually diving in on my mage, so that would have been really unfortunate to lose my mage there. But we do have a Dragon Prince ambush, so I called them in a little bit earlier. They're waiting there, and that is going to be a Toasted Fury unit. That is going to be fully surrounded and beaten down, and hopefully it'll work out for us. In the meantime, on the other side, Tyrion chariot being hunted by the Shrieking Skyrays and taking quite a bit of anti-large damage, but returning a little bit of fire with the arrows. The crew, you know, they're putting some hurt on these guys. Not too great, but at least a little bit of returning damage. And meanwhile, in the middle, it's going very, very well. The Handmaiden buffing up these units. Karanak is using a snare, I believe, on Tyrion, and Tyrion's getting really low. So Subutai going for a sniping play here, which is a great call. And I just need Tyrion to heal because he has that rebirth ability. So if he gets low enough, he's able to heal up. But the problem is he often breaks and runs off the battlefield instead of healing in that situation. So Tyrion is going to be fleeing away here. The Fiends of Slaanesh and Karavek, the Feathered Prince, getting their prize, which was unfortunate. So I do respond with the Melkoths, hoping that Tyrion can get enough separation from this giant chicken to maybe stabilize. And we're also going to be trying to, you know, escort him with these Reavers. But the problem is, if my opponent just flies over Tyrion's head with the bird nearby, it is going to keep Tyrion from rallying. He can spam blue fires to make sure it's all good. But we are massively ahead on value. 6.3 against 3.7. The Tyrion chariots have been absolute menaces, actually. And Spearmen, backed up by the Handmaiden of the Everqueen, able to fight on that middle objective quite well. Now back here, we are going to be doing a play in the back objective. Rangers for the High Elves in patch 5.1, they got Vanguard deployment, so Rangers can Vanguard deploy, which is really, really useful in Domination. In land battle, it's kind of a cute thing, but it's not really going to be super meta defining, but in Dom, that's actually a colossal buff. So I figured with the points advantage I have, I could Alpha Strike his back objective. So we're going to be taking the Chariots back there, Reavers, thinking charging Reavers into the front of the Fiends, and then using the Dragon Princes, but I was a little bit slow to respond here. So unfortunately, the Fiends are going to catch me, and that felt a little bit bad. So my micro did fall there. Now, Tyrion did get escorted off the battlefield by the Feathered Prince. A bit of an unfortunate one. Leadership penalty in my army is, you know, not going to be insubstantial. We do have negative 16 here, but High Elves' base leadership is pretty good. And here are the Handmaiden of the Everqueen actually taking on the Blood Reaper, which I was very, very pleased to see. So, yeah, she's doing great work. And that Blood Reaper is going to be getting karate chopped. And on the side, the Fiends of Slaanesh engage versus the Illyrian Reavers. But the Dragon Princes emerge from the forest, getting their full charge in there. So I'm hoping that charge will be enough to melt down the Fiends. And you can see their HP is going to start diminishing very rapidly due to the charge bonus. Fiends are a pretty good answer against heavy cab, but they are very squishy still with only 30 armor and not the best MD. So if they do eat charges, that's not good. But usually you avoid it with speed, but you know, in this case, they do get caught slipping up a little bit. So in the front, we got some Bloodletters coming in to try and retake the objective. Noxbringer has used all of its ammo and has gotten only 1100 value. Chariots and light cavalry moving in. Magic damage and missiles coming out of the Tyrion chariots, and they've used pretty much all their ammo. This one, for example, has gotten about 800 value, which is great. They cost, I think, 700 or 800, so it's a pretty fair spend here. Now, Dragon Prince is getting swarmed by a combination of Furies of Khorne and Fiends. Handmaiden, the Everqueen, was going to come over and help, but Karanak still lives, which is unfortunate. So he was still hanging in there with a little bit of health, and he does use his snare, which has infinite charges, and it is able to knock down my Handmaiden of the Everqueen. So here, I was starting to sweat bullets a little bit. I was like, oh god, am I going to be in a little bit of trouble? Let's hope not. On the back objective, Rangers are going to steal that, so that's a big one for me. That's going to be giving me cushion and force him to play back there a little bit more rather than reinforcing some of the frontal fights. These Chad Dragon Princes, though, doing huge work. They took down a Fiend unit. They also were able to hold against the demonic Karanak here. And now they're going to be moving into the Furies of Khorne, which don't have the best AP. So they might put up an okay fight there. And Karanak is going to be hunted down by the Reavers, who are very tattered. Cloud of Erosion active from the Noxbringer. But Karanak does crumble, so Tyrion's legacy lives on as he gets her done. And in the back, guess who's back? Shady's back. Tyrion is here, and he's going to be cruising back to the middle. In his first life, he got about 1,600 value, which is a little bit less than what he costs. I think he costs around 2,000, give or take, with the kit I brought. So now he's here, and he's ready to party, which I figured I needed something to fight Zaravek as well as the Noxbringer here. And Tyrion's going to be ready for both of those. So Sunfang cast going down. It does tickle those Bloodletters. Bloodletters do not have any sort of fire resist. They do, have, of course, have a 35% spell resist, which is quite nice. Here, the Dragon Princes cleaning out the Furies. And the Rangers have stolen this objective, so it is mine. And you can see the points are going very, very heavily in my favor as the value gap is closed a little bit. But I felt like I was pretty damn far ahead because there's a lot of demonic instability that isn't being reflected in the bounce of power here. In the back, we see the Feathered Prince just kind of sitting and using the blue fires where he can. And Tyrion is going to start hunting down this Dread Beast here. So the Noxbringer will pay the Troll Toll eventually, as Tyrion is an absolute beatdown unit on this. The Noxbringer is an okay fighter, 52-44, but in a straight fight, Tyrion would probably win this despite the HP differential. Although with Zaravek fighting as well as the Noxbringer could be a little bit dodgy for sure. So back objective is going to be flipping to the Forces of Chaos here as the Haggard Turd Burglars, including the Frolickers Bubonic, so the ROR. going to be overwhelming my Rangers. The Rangers don't have magic damage, so they're going to struggle to get through the Nurgling's MD, which is actually pretty good for the cost. 36, I think, on these guys. No, 31. Cloud of Flies, is it active? Oh, it must be on cooldown. No, they have Blister back. Yeah, so they have passive healing, which is super good. So yeah, Rangers, they're trying, but they're probably inevitably going to get swarmed by those little plague demons. Now, in the middle objective, I felt a little bit safer with Tyrion. I knew my opponent was out of Winds of Magic, so I didn't have to worry about blue fires as much. There's a nice Fecundity right there. We do have some Spearmen getting in, and the Tyrion Chariots are, they didn't hear no bell. They're moving back in for their final fight, and also calling in Lion Chariots of Grace. Just wanted to really experiment with Chariots in this particular matchup, and they felt pretty good. You can see that impact on the Bloodletters, not bad at all, and they've been pretty maneuverable. Tyrion Chariots, I like the shooting on them a lot. 1100 value on this one, which is outstanding. This one, 1200 value. I mean, that is good. And I'm trying to think of other matchups in which they could be nice. I suppose any matchup in which you're expecting, demons or demonic units, so Nurgle, Khorne, maybe even against Tzeentch, like in general, the Tyrion Chariots could be good because they do have that missile poke that can kind of keep Tzeentch honest a little bit. And Tzeentch likes to bring, a fair amount of infantry, and Zangors would be pretty vulnerable against him as well. So just kind of thinking out of the box here can certainly lead to some cool innovations. So Tyrion's going to be hunting down the Noxbringer, 4,000 HP on this bad boy, but he's a lot quicker. He does hit it for 400 damage there. Bloodletters of Khorne at 4 leadership. Might be able to hold, though. Those Bloodletters are seriously pretty good infantry. Calling for me is Lothern Seaguard and Rangers to secure the points. And I know it's a situation where I can just Helm's Deep on the back objective if I want to. We're massively ahead. We do have the double cap for now. Rangers going to be kind of splitting the two objectives here to give me a little bit of variance as it pertains to which way I want to go. And here we do see the Noxbringer charging across. Not sure where it's going. Probably trying to intercept the Lion Chariots. While Zervek, the Feathered Prince, sitting at only 1100 value. Another blue fire there does a little bit of work, but not too much. And we might be able to get the kill on this bad boy, but it's going to be very tough for the demons to get their ground back. Collins now are going to be Lothern Seaguard as well as more Lothern Seaguard. I didn't want to bring them in the initial build because they're very expected. Most demons players are going to be very privy to that. Lion Chariots of Grace getting a fat charge right there. Look at that HP bar just get drained, and we're going to be pulling that one back. Well, my opponent does steal this objective, so I only need about 200 more victory tickets to get the W here, and now we have Archer Fire and Rangers coming in, so I'm hoping I can reclaim this point. Mostly seeing infantry called in, but finally we do get some Fiends in from Subutai. Fiends a great counter against the Lion Chariots and Chariots in general. They have good mass, good stopping power, and are certainly there to party. So you've got to finish off the Noxbringer, get rid of one source of terror. Rangers moving in. Zervek, the Feathered Chicken, is going to be flying in and landing and doing battle with the Lothern Seaguard. He will be able to kill a couple models, but overall they'll fight back reasonably well. They do have anti-large, poking sticks, and you can see the shields of Zervek are starting to be drained down as more Collins are here. The Illyrian Reavers to run over the Nurglings, more Lothern Seaguard to do a little bit of poke and stroke. Meanwhile, Zervek, he just occupies those Seaguard, and the Lion Chariots of Grace still trying to hunt down the Bloodletters. But the Fiend's a good hunting unit, and you can see it was a pretty big value lead for me earlier, but he has pulled it back to an extent. But I do think we have the momentum here between the Rangers and some of these other pieces to get the objective back. And on the backside, a little bit of sneaky. The Rangers didn't hear no bell, and they will be moving back onto Objective 3 here in just a minute, which is going to be a nice little threat. So here I pull back the Lion Chariots, knowing that this could be a Helm's Deep position. I kind of felt like the momentum was not fully shifted. I felt like it was a pretty even battle, but it was starting to make me a little bit nervous. So there's going to be a Sunfang, but I forgot how long of a cooldown Sunfang has, or not a cooldown, but an activated. I was so used to using the Nurgle abilities that I just completely whiff on that one, which felt pretty bad. But Spearmen trying to hunt down the Fiends of Slaanesh while Tyrion attacks the Bloodletters, hopefully getting some good splash damage on these bad boys. We'll have to see. And the Chariot and the Reavers will be trying to flank around the side. Now here we do get the Lothern Seaguard with the support of some Reavers, cleaning up some of the Nurglings. More Nurglings going to be pushing into my secondary, while Rangers duking it out with 2 Nurgling units who do have the Cloud of Flies ability, so their MD is going to be pretty damn good, like I said, for the price point. Spearmen being swarmed on by Bloodletters, and the Fiends do get a good engagement. My opponent has the superior mobility here, so I don't have too much to say about that situation. Meanwhile, the Lion Chariots of Grace running away, trying to stabilize, and we do call our Melkoth's caster back in because it did get killed earlier, and I knew I needed something to deal with the waves of infantry that would be coming in. On the backside, we get real cheeky, though. We got 2 units snaking this objective, and little plays like this can make a big difference because instead of these Furies running to press my back point, they have to come here now, right? So little things like this, they certainly can add up and do well for you. So Rangers are really chatting it in the middle. I was very happy with their performance. They actually were able to cut through almost 2 Nurglings. One of the Nurglings, though, there's no ROR in this one. The other 2v1 that we had earlier, there were the ROR Nurglings. They do have passive healing and better stats. Back objective looking a little bit scary, and I'm sweating bullets, I'm not going to lie. This is getting a little bit dodgy here. A couple Spearmen coming from the other side as Tyrion battles it out versus the Demons of Chaos, desperately trying to hold on to the objective, but the Demons of Chaos don't have a ton of capture weight here. And I do have my my mage as well as the lion chariots, hoping to finish these off. Fiends have arrived, bloodletters have arrived as well. Middle objective, Rangers will eventually win that, so it's going to give me some threat there. And the backside objective looks like it's actually in danger of being captured as well. So very, very close game. Even if we did lose this objective, I think we have enough time to get it back. We do have the Lothern Sea Guard as well as the Spearmen coming across. And Tyrion's fighting capacity here would probably be it. So GG, well played. Another High Elf one, man. And I really enjoyed the experimentation of that game. Subutai had a really, really strong opponent, and if this worked against him, then it's probably not bad. We saw the Tyrion Chariot. This one got hit by the snare, but the other one's 1,200 and 1,100. That's really good. And here we have the Handmaiden. Don't know how I felt about the Handmaiden. Honestly, probably just cut her for another Chariot. Tyrion, 3,500 value. Yes, he was summoned twice, but he put in some work that game. My magic was probably the weak link. I think maybe just bringing a healing caster or, yeah, probably a healing caster against demons. With Karanak being out there as well as like blue fire spam and Tzeentch elements, I think you need a little bit of healing. What's cool about these chariots too is if your opponent does come in with Changebringers, which he didn't, but if you did bring Changebringers, you would have some shooting to poke them because they do have shooting, which is cool. And that actually would have maybe been a problem. I did have some Lothern Sea Guard, but in retrospect, I think bringing one or maybe one Great Eagle just as a cheap flyer to chase around Changebringers would be very, very strong. And yeah, his build was cool. He used the new Fiend, 1,700 value on one. Chicken did fine, and Karanak was obviously a raid boss, despite getting beaten down really, really bad early, 2,200 on the Noxbringer as well. All right, guys, that's it for today. Take care of yourselves, and Sigmar bless.